One day we're going to figure out how to change this from breaking news back to the KCTV5 Sports Tonight stinger there. Um, Welcome in Casey Sports Tonight. I'm Katie Marr. That's Gabe Swartz. We have a deceptively large amount of things to talk about today for what at first glance kind of seems like a dead Wednesday. But we're going to start with the new information, new since we last had Casey Sports Tonight yesterday, that we've learned about the Rashee Rice jailing. As we know, he has been sentenced to 30 days in jail because he violated his probation. He tested positive for THC a couple of days ago and is now going to miss OTAs and mandatory minicamp. We have since learned that he underwent a knee operation about a week prior to this happening to kind of go in and just clean out some loose debris in there that was causing him some pain. Gabe, what do you make of the information coming out and the timing of all of it?
Well, I think that the timing of it is horrendous. I think that the reporting from Adam Schefter of ESPN today that has followed up on this to give context to things has added to the conversation and added to the frustration that the Chiefs have, because I think when it was originally reported yesterday that Rashee Rice was in custody in Dallas County Jail and was going to miss mandatory minicamp and OTAs because of this, people were not very happy, and I don't think that, and rightfully so. And I don't believe that this changes that in any way, shape, or form. If anything, I think it adds to it, because the context of the Schefter report and the way in which he frames it, if you understand from the journalistic side of things when he cites league sources, who he's talking to, you have to figure that is coming from inside of the Chiefs building, not from Rashee Rice's agent, especially when, and I'll read a portion of the story. Now in a Dallas County jail, Rice will be unable to get the type of medical attention and rehab that could have expedited his return from last week's surgery. That, to me, reads like something that front office members of the Chiefs pointed out to Adam Schefter, because they are at their wits' end with this guy, and they're super frustrated by his poor decision-making, his lack of consideration for others, and his general disregard for the law and things that are outside of just his general happiness. And yeah. I think that that's the thing that has been the most frustrating of the whole situation is not that a mistake was made once in March of 2024. It's that there doesn't appear to be, and I think when Rashee talked last year during training camp and deferred to until the situation was done, and then when he spoke at the podium at the Chiefs facility when the suspension was over and he was back at practice, and he talked about how he learned about the mental the things that he can go through mentally, the challenges of it going through adversity. It didn't speak like someone who has really learned much from the situation, aside from one statement that his lawyers put out for him that was nonverbal. It was just a written statement. So I think that everyone is super frustrated with this. I think that the general pushback from people across Kansas City, whether it's Chiefs fans, whether it's media, whether it's the national media, people are there's a lot of focus on the money that he's squandering, the fact that he's not on a second contract yet, and that what he's going to make in 2027 is largely dependent on what he does in 2026. Yeah. And he has multiple lawsuits and presumably needs the money to cover some of those things. I think that's completely missing the point. What is way more concerning than whether he can get his money and the sadness of a guy missing out on money is the fact that this is a guy who has repeatedly shown that he has not learned from his mistakes and he doesn't necessarily care for it. I think that's the thing that frustrates me the most as just a human. It doesn't even matter that he plays for the Chiefs or that he plays in the NFL and that he's wasting talent. It's just someone who appears to have a complete lack of regard for other people.
Yeah. Especially because, Mark and I talked about this yesterday. He's been expected for the last several years to be the Chiefs' number one guy, to be Patrick Mahomes' number one guy. That's a big honor. Think of guys who have recently held that position with the Chiefs. Tyreek Hill, the career that he had in Kansas City. How high in esteem we hold Travis Kelce being one of the top targets for the Chiefs. Those are the shoes that he's expected to fill. And this goes back to even before he was drafted into the NFL. He fell to the second round because of the off the field issues. Rashee Rice was a first round draft pick, but a lot of teams didn't want to take him because of the stuff they heard about off the field. And when he's not 22 anymore. He's not a rookie anymore. You talk about patterns. He continues to make these mistakes over and over again. He can get on the podium and say he's learned from them all he wants, but when you're given just this specific set of rules after already getting such a sweet deal. He got the deal that he got because of who he is and the fact that he is a star receiver in the NFL. Not a lot of other people would have gotten the deal that he got. And he did get it. And to begin with, that makes people around the NFL, it's turned the Chiefs almost, I don't want to say into a laughing stock, but it's something that people have made fun of the Chiefs for the last year and a half, or 2 years now, I guess I should say, because it was March of 2024. It's something that they make fun of. It's something that when it continues to happen like this, it just continues to put this horrible light on the Kansas City organization in what is supposed to be this prime dynasty run where the Chiefs obviously want all the best press they can get because what they've done in the last decade since Patrick Mahomes came there has been so incredible. It's damaging the organization. It makes you wonder, how do they bring this guy back next year? Do they bring this guy back next year? And then when you talk about, the knee operation that he just underwent a week ago, he now has to rehab that in jail. Yeah. I'm currently rehabbing a knee operation where they went in to clean up debris that was causing me pain. And I wouldn't want to do that in jail. I don't think I'd be very good to go after,
your employer is not dependent upon you being a high level athlete.
I don't know, man. I carry a lot of weight with those cameras and those tripods.
Contest, yeah.
But yeah, it's also then when you put that into the equation, it's worrying for this upcoming season. Is he going to be okay to go because of how he's had to rehab a knee operation? Doing that in jail, that's not a good thing either. So you have one job, you have these little things that you have to do to just be on good behavior. Breaking the law, it's just not breaking the law. Just seems like a kind of easy thing to do.
And I think the thing that frustrates from all of the off the field stuff, and it bleeding into the on the field stuff of you selfishly, you did this thing in March of 2024. You were penalized for it legally by pleading guilty to the felonies. You were penalized for it at your job, getting suspended, which I think that in general, one of the things that is under discussed from last year's Chiefs failures as a team and missing the playoffs and such is that they were not whole as an offense from week one. So they were starting from a point where, an Xavier Worthy injury really hurts you. Anything that derails you. They started slowly as a team. The offense was okay at times, but it was never at its whole, and it never was able to be what it was supposed to be the entire season because they started from behind because of his selfish decision. And now you're letting one season got derailed by a knee injury. That's unfortunate. He couldn't control Patrick Mahomes diving into his legs to make a tackle. He couldn't
control what Mahomes did today.
He could control not being a malfeasance off the field to the point where you're getting suspended for 6 games. And now he could also control this knee
Just
surgery cleanup
following-
and not violating the
Follow
terms
the
of your
rules.
probation to the point where you're just going into jail on the whims of the legal system, not on your, hey, you can do the 30 days whenever you would like, as he had previously gotten this, as you pointed out, sweetheart deal. And so as a result, it brings into question, how quickly is he going to recover? How quickly will he be available for training camp? And where does that push things back for a team that's biggest question is, can their best player get back at hyper speed from a end of season torn ACL? So when you're juxtaposing how hard Patrick Mahomes is working to try to be on this field for this team with a guy who doesn't seem to care, it is incredibly frustrating. But the last part of it is the Chiefs have to, at some point, be held accountable for allowing this to be their number one option.
Yeah.
And this remains Rashee Rice being their number one option as a wide receiver because they didn't address it, haven't addressed it in free agency, opted to go with Mansour Delane as in the top of the first round instead of a Jordan
Receiver.
Tyson or someone else of that realm in the top of the first round. So my worry moving forward, and we will talk about it plenty throughout the summer and into training camp, is that this is approaching 2023 Chiefs wide receiver room levels of, hey, Kadarius Toney's our number one option and we're fine with it. And yes, Rashee Rice is a much better football player than Kadarius Toney at the NFL level, but there are just as many problems with leaving him as the number one option as there were with Toney. It's just a different version of the problems.
Yeah. So as of right now, if it looks like it's a lot of weight is resting on young Xavier Worthy's shoulders and 36-year-old Travis Kelce's shoulders.
Sounds like a great plan.
Woo! But hey, at least I got Kenneth Walker the third.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to the Chiefs' neighbors across the lot of the Truman Sports Complex. The Royals are once again at home tonight, Game 3 of a 9-game homestand, hoping to avoid being swept by the Red Sox. They have lost 8 of their last 9 games, which is not good, after they had been one of the hottest teams in baseball for about 2 weeks. Going from having the worst record in Major League Baseball to, being one of the hottest teams. And now they've lost 8 of their last 9. And, they just seem to keep getting hit by, this pitcher to the IL, yada, yada, yada. Gabe, can they avoid the sweep tonight? What's your confidence level with the Royals right now?
What they have going for them is that the best pitcher on the roster this season is pitching for them tonight with Michael Wacha, who is 4-2 this year with a sub-3 ERA. So he's been really productive, and he hasn't always gotten the run support. But this is a team that has been really, really poor when left-handers are on the mound against them. And they faced a lefty last night and got behind early and bullpen game, and it just didn't fit. And I think the frustration from last night is that they were down 3-1. They were in a spot where if they could have had a shutdown inning in the top of the 9th, you could have forced the Red Sox to use Aroldis Chapman again, and then presumably he goes back-to-back nights. He'd be unavailable tonight. Well, he's available again tonight. So you have to avoid entering the 9th inning in a poor spot, largely because you flamed out at the end of the game from the bullpen perspective and you allowed it to become a blowout. So I don't know. I think that this is a team that is frustrating people to the point where we talked about this 2 weeks ago on the show. Mark and I did when they were losing to the Athletics right before they shut us up and they swept the Mariners and had a good homestand against divisional opponents. But if you're going to be bad, you have to develop Carter and Jack.
Yeah.
And those guys are not getting enough at-bats while they're being a bad team. If they're going to platoon them often and hold them back and continue to just bang their head against the wall with Pasquantino third and Perez fourth and just continue to allow those guys to be unproductive with runners in scoring position and not try anything else and just continue to definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. If they're just going to continue to do that, then there's no excuses to not win. And at some point, someone has to answer for the failures. So I've seen a lot of people now calling for firings of different individuals on the coaching staff, switching people around in the lineup and stuff. They just have to try something different.
Yeah.
They have to give it an opportunity to be different.
And I think the most frustrating part is that we've seen the lineup that works best. And it features Carter Jensen and Jack Caglione.
Yeah.
And they're also it's also a lineup that excites the fan base. And when you're at home and you want that home energy behind you, especially when you play so kind of terribly on the road like they have this year, you need to win at home and you need to get fans excited about it and, help power you to those wins. It's just so frustrating, I think, for fans and just for us as media members, covering the Royals when we see what does work. And that's having those two young spark plug hitters in the lineup who were doing so well. That's the other thing. They were doing really well this season. And then it's like when they put out a starting lineup that doesn't feature them after they just had a great game, you're like, what are we doing here? This isn't making sense. That's the most frustrating part. We have this joke, oh, Jack Caglione, you hit a home run in this game, you're not playing tomorrow. And then they're in the bottom of the ninth inning. They're down by 2 and they're trying to make a miracle happen. So then they put them into pinch hit, and I'm like, why weren't they just in the lineup? Because I believe that it's proven to work. Just keep giving them the at bats that they need to keep improving because they are still young, of course. But yeah, that's the most frustrating part, I think, for a lot of fans. Just the inconsistencies and the back and forth. We got so excited about them a few weeks ago, and now. But there is one good piece of great news, and that's the fact that the Royals are 2-0 this season when they play on KCTV5, and they play on KCTV5 this Friday night against the Mariners, who they swept when they were out in Seattle.
Yeah.
So that's something exciting to look forward to. So you're going to make sure you want to watch that on Friday night to watch the Royals go to 3-0 on KCTV5.
Hopefully so. They have to keep giving those guys at-bats, especially when it's a right-hander in there, even if those guys have reverse splits like they were citing on Sunday against the Palante for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
We have seen, and I would point to this. This is my last point on the thing. We saw how much Jack Caglione had to learn how to play right field at the major league level. Last night, he throws a guy out at home, 102 miles an hour from right field, fastest throw on an outfield assist in Major League Baseball all season.
Because he's a pitcher, too.
And he doesn't get used that way anymore. But he has a huge arm, and he has developed as a defender because he's gotten reps.
Yeah.
So he has to get some reps against lefties if you ever want him to be able to hit third in the lineup behind Bobby Witt Jr. all the time, which you currently are okay with Vinny doing, despite him also having poor numbers. So
yeah. Oh, Royals.
They still will have me watching.
As always, especially when they're on KCTV5.
Yes.
Royals woes to Final Four foes because today KU men's basketball announced that they have scheduled a home-and-home with Villanova. The first of that will be played this upcoming season at Allen Fieldhouse, and then the next one will be played at Villanova outside Philadelphia next season.
Yep.
Yeah. Obviously, these are two programs with hit a lot of history in college basketball. Villanova won the national championship last in 2017? 2018. And then, obviously, KU. We know all about them. What do you think of the matchup in Big East, Big 12?
So I think that this is a fun series, mostly because they have a good recent history and a meaningful recent history in that the last 4 times that these two programs have faced off in the NCAA tournament. So 2022 on the screen there. It's the first game since they played each other in the 2022 Final Four. KU won that game. They go on to win the national title. Villanova in 2018 crushed KU in the Final Four in San Antonio, went on to win the national championship. In 2016, Villanova upset KU as the 2 seed. KU is the 1 seed in the Elite Eight. They go on to win the national championship. And then in 2008, KU beat Villanova en route to winning Bill Self's first national championship. So the last 4 times that these programs have played each other in the NCAA tournament, the winner has gone on to win the national championship. And they've also previously played a home-and-home series in the 2019-2020 years. The 2018, it was December of 2018 and then December of 2019 of those 2 years.
Yeah.
And those were great games as well. I think both of them were decided by less than 5 points. So I am all in favor of this matchup. It is, despite not having any conference affiliation, it has tons of history and tons of really meaningful history. And we're getting it at Allen Fieldhouse and in Philly. So that's what we always say. This is what college basketball needs more of, is home and home series between big brands in their conference arenas. KU's done it with North Carolina the last 2 years. They've done it with UConn, hosting them. And I think they have a trip back to Stores at some point soon.
I think so.
So this is awesome. I love it.
Yeah. I am going to love it even more when, because I'm going to take my unbiased journalist hat off for a minute. As a Maryland Terrapin, Kevin Willard, the head coach of Villanova. Again, I'm not biased towards any of the teams that we cover. I love to see them all succeed, so I will be rooting for the Jayhawks in this one, because Kevin Willard did my Maryland Terrapins just so dirty. Having sweet, sweet talks with Villanova behind our backs as we were having a Sweet 16 run 2 seasons ago. Distracted, didn't have his thinking cap on, and then we lost to the eventual national champions of Florida, whatever. Yeah. But for that, and then, of course, he took the job at Villanova the very next day. And so for that, I think Kevin Willard is a snake in the grass, and I will personally enjoy watching him and Villanova lose at Allen Fieldhouse this upcoming season.
I don't think that KU fans hold the same vitriol for Kevin Willard, but I do know...
I'll hold enough for them.
Yeah, I do know enough KU fans in my life to know that Villanova is not a school that people like, because they feel like 2016 and 2018, those losses prevented potential national championships, and it would be hard to argue against that argument.
Yeah, it was so sweet to watch Villanova lose to Utah State in the tournament this past season. Oh, I loved that a lot. So yeah, you all know where I stand on that one. Okay, Ahmad Hardy. We have heard from him, the star Mizzou running back, for the first time since he was shot just about 10 days ago, earlier this month, at a concert in Mississippi. ESPN reports he was shot in the leg. He is back. He's been back in Columbia for a little while now, and today he posted a video to Instagram, social media, on the Mizzou football account, just saying, "Hey guys, I'm back in Columbia, doing great, on the mend. Thanks for all your support, etc., etc." We also, our sister station in Springfield, Missouri, talked to Coach Drinkwitz yesterday, I believe, and they sent us that interview, and Drink did talk about, he's back in Columbia. His rehab, or his training, I should say, is going to look very different from the rest of the team, obviously, because first he still has some internal healing to do in that leg, and then he can kind of get started back on that, but they don't have a timeline for that just yet, because obviously this is not something that I think the Mizzou trainers have had to experience before. It's a crazy situation, Gabe.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, for us, the thing that we're always told is, like, don't speculate about injuries, don't speculate about timelines. There are a lot of injuries in football and sports and anything that we have an estimation on the return to play timeline, but bullet fragments going into your leg is not one of those things. So
for a star running back,
we could point to Brian Robinson Jr. with the Commanders a couple years ago when he got shot in the leg and he returned to play. But who knows what part of the leg and what things it impacted. So it's just good to see the video of him. It looked like it was in the training room.
You could hear kind of weightlifting in the background.
You would presume that they're that he's doing the rehab and all that kind of stuff, but I think that it's good that Drinkwitz has acknowledged that he is on a different timeline now than the rest of the roster.
Yeah.
And when he can play, it will be great that he can play, because it's great that he is still with us and still like able to function and that his leg works, given that the shooting happened. So good for him. Good to hear. Good news. And I think we've gotten good news every time that we've gotten an update on this story since the original one, which was incredibly concerning.
Yeah, like at first we were all kind of like, it feels weird to talk about anything to do with Ahmad Hardy right now. That's not just thank God he's alive. Because it's obviously a very scary situation. But now that he's okay, he's posted this video that he's in good spirits, we can kind of talk a little more football now and what, that's going to look like. Because, again, this is a guy who is was projected to go very high in the NFL draft one day. So, yeah, we are obviously wishing him the best in his recovery and are excited to learn more about his process in doing that, because it's not something I think any of us have covered either in a hot minute or ever. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. And before we go, we have an exciting commitment to talk about. If you didn't know, one of the top players in the country in the class of 2027 for girls basketball, her name is Eve Long, and she is a current junior about to be a senior at Olathe South. And she made her highly anticipated college decision today. Her top 5 were Notre Dame, UConn, UCLA, KU, and Duke. Her top 3 took KU and Duke out of there. And today she announced she is going to be a Fighting Irish, one of the top programs in the country. She was wanted by just about every top program in the country. And yeah, she said, her team talked to her this morning at her commitment. She said that it was the only tour that when she stepped on campus, she just knew like she could see herself there, and they have a family aspect there. Choosing them over UConn and UCLA, who just won the national championship, though, crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, Notre Dame's not a slouch of a program. They've had plenty of women's basketball success, and all of the programs that she was able to have offers to and consider would have been great options. I commend her for making the decision her junior year, because that's proactive. It's good to know what you want and where you fit in and what you like. The women's basketball scene is a little different than the men's basketball scene at this point, where the high school recruiting and the spots that are available is different. But as someone who waited until the end of April of their senior year to decide where they were going, I can commend someone making their college decision in junior year May. So good for her. And I'm sure that we all can't wait to see her play her senior year at Olathe South and then her college career at Notre Dame. Yeah, and that's what she said. She's happy to just have it off her shoulders and be able to focus on her senior year now, and she wants to win them a state championship. Something else to remember with the other teams that she had in her top 3, UCLA did just win the national championship, but all of their starting 5 and another player got drafted to the WNBA. So different teams. Awesome for her. Notre Dame is certainly one of the best programs in the country. They are going to love her. We are going to love watching her. And we thank you for joining us on KC Sports Tonight. We're here every weekday at 5:30 and on the weekends over the air at 10:30. Adios.